Hey everyone! Truly, YA fantasy can be enjoyed by any and everyone, but YA is actually targeted towards 12 to 18-year-olds, which is a pretty large range. I was very different when I was 18 from when I was 12, so you get a lot of stories, and some of those stories read on the younger side, and some of the stories read a little bit more mature on the older side. So I think, again, that YA can be enjoyed by any age. I am 30, I am still reading YA, I still love it. I will continue to read YA through my whole life. But these are books that I think lean on the maybe a little bit more mature side, towards that older end of the range, that I think can be enjoyed by an older audience. So I have 9 recommendations for you today, and I'm going to get right into it. The first is Blood Heir by Amelie Zhao. This is a story that follows a girl who has a very dangerous gift and has been hiding her gift, which she feels is more like a curse, her entire life. And that is the ability to control people's blood. And she is also the heir to this throne. So Blood Heir takes place in this world that feels very reminiscent of the Shadow and Bone series by Leigh Bardugo, if you've ever read that. We have a chosen one to a certain extent who I think is a fantastic main character. We have a lot of political maneuvering in this book, as well as some really dark consequences for our main characters, and that is why I think that this one reads a little bit more on the mature side. I think the writing is really sophisticated. I think the politics are very well done, and I think that what these characters have to go through are some really dark things, and you deal with very real consequences. The next book I have is Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. This is one that I absolutely loved when I read it. It follows a girl who comes from a family of witch doctors, but she herself has never had a sort of awakening of her own powers, and the rest of her family is very magical by nature, and so she feels very much like she is an outcast from her own family and from her own community because she hasn't had these powers manifest within her. So she ends up having to make a deal with this dark entity and gets into a lot more sinister of a situation than she ever thought she would. There's also a lot of mystery around this book because you have characters who are being kidnapped or taken away mysteriously. They're disappearing from this community, so she is determined to find out what is happening when one of her best friends is taken from her. There's also a lot of family drama in this book, very unexpectedly, and I think this book, it has such a wide scope of what it's trying to tackle, but I think it manages to balance everything it includes in this story so well, and it really does take a turn about halfway through that I just wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting the level of family drama that we got. I wasn't expecting the ending that we got. It is truly a wild ride. I think it just deals with such unique magic, and it's just a very cool world that feels very gritty. It feels very dark. So I loved this. The next book I have is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is one that I've seen a lot of hype for around the community, and I think it is very much deserved. This follows a young girl who is new to this college, and she quickly realizes that there is this secret society of Arthurian descendants, all of these descendants from these King Arthur legends. So she is kind of inducted into this society and becomes involved with a lot of the magic of this society. I think that this book shows a lot of really important themes while also remaining really fun and fast-paced, and has such a cool magic system. Actually has 2 very cool magic systems. I really liked how it explored ancestry. It also has a little bit of a love triangle in it, and I gotta say, I kind of enjoyed it. It was really done well. I definitely recommend this one. The next one I have is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. And as I was going through and editing this video, I did not do a good job of explaining the premise of this book, so let me try it again. You're following two main characters, one of which is a crown princess, and one of which is a boy who has escaped his war-stricken home. And the boy is looking to save his sister, and to do so has to kill the crown princess. And the crown princess is looking to resurrect her mother. And to do that, she has to sacrifice a king and kill him to take his beating heart. So you have two characters who are trying to kill each other. There's your premise. I loved seeing these main characters deal with very difficult situations, and the way the ending all played out, it was just a fantastic way to set up these really complex characters. So I think if you're looking for a really great character story where you're following characters who are very much torn about what the right thing to do is and having to grapple with these really hard decisions, then I definitely recommend checking this one out. The next book I have is Fireborn by Rosaria Munda. I've talked about this one quite a bit on my channel. This is a trilogy that is now completed, and it follows two main characters in this world that is very recently recovered from a revolution that changed their entire society. And the new things that they're trying to do to change the society for the better. And it really does a great job of examining what that means, what it means to have like a post-revolutionary society. It examines not only the political aspects of that, but it examines the economical aspects of that and how the children of this revolution have to deal with the very real consequences of it for the rest of their lives and how it changes them as humans. So I think it is just so sophisticated. It's so complex, and there's so much to examine within this type of world. And I think the author does it masterfully. She really dives deep into our characters' psyches and examines how this trauma has shaped who they are. You also have dragons in this world, which adds a layer of fun and fantasy to the trilogy. It could have been shelved as adult fantasy if the characters had been aged up just a couple years. So I think that this is a fantastic one. The next one I have is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. So this is one where I've read the whole trilogy, but the first book by far is my favorite. And I think you can read this first book without having to continue on with the trilogy if you're very happy with how it wrapped up. A Curse So Dark and Lonely starts as a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but what's so fun about it and what makes it feel very fresh is that your main character, who is that beauty type character, she comes from our world and she is transported into this fantasy world. So you have a lot of fun moments of her trying to grapple with the fact that she is truly in this fantasy world that is completely new to her and is unbelievable to her. It makes it a lot of fun to follow her. She's a fantastic main character. You really root for her. And then you also have the romance kind of at more of the forefront of any of the other books I've talked about so far in this video, because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it's told in a really fresh way where it's not insta love. You really have to see them work for it, and by the end you're just really pleasantly surprised with how everything developed. So I love this one. It's familiar yet offers a new perspective. Next one I have is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forma. This is one where the main character lives in a society where everyone's blood runs red, but if you have blood that runs gold, you are considered an abomination. You're considered an outcast from society. You are sent to death, and our main character goes through her blood test and realizes that her blood runs gold. So you have a very, very dark world and a very dark setup in this book, and that's why I think that this one could appeal to the more mature side of this genre, because you're really having to read through some pretty dark and gruesome stuff. The main character we're following, she is really likable, very easy to root for. She's very resilient, and she makes these fantastic friendships in this book. So I think if you're looking for something that is a little bit darker, grittier, and has a fantastic main character who is just determined to overcome the odds, I think that this is a great one. The next one I have is Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. What I love about Raybearer is the world building is fantastic in this book. Some of my favorite world building, as well as the friendships. So again, kind of like the Gilded Ones, if you're looking for incredible friendships, look no further than Raybearer. Raybearer follows a character who is born to a mother that basically kind of curses her daughter, and this main character of the daughter, she is tasked with something really horrible, but because of this magic around her, this curse on her, she is forced to do this really horrible thing, and that is kill the prince. So you're following her journey as she's trying to kind of make her way into the good graces of the prince and making friends along the way and having to kind of overcome this magic that's keeping her hostage. So it's such a good story. That friendships again are amazing in this book, and I think that this romance subplot that's in this book is one of my favorites. I think it's perfectly well developed. It took its time. You really got to understand why these characters would feel the way they feel. So I really like this one. I definitely recommend Raybearer if you're looking for great friendships and great world building. The next one I have is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. This is a Japanese-inspired fantasy trilogy that I love. If you love anime, then look no further than Shadow of the Fox. You are following a girl who is a kitsune. She is a half fox, half human, and she is on a quest to retrieve this very important life-saving item. She picks up other people on her journey to assist with her quest, and some of these people have their own motives for going on this journey with her, and you are experiencing the story from two main perspectives: the girl on this quest and the boy who joins her on this quest with ulterior motives. And it is so good. It's so good because the way these main characters interact with each other is so much fun. The main character herself of Yumiko is so delightful. She's just this bubbly, wonderful character that I loved, and you get this romantic subplot that again is so well done. I loved it. So I loved this story. I loved the Japanese setting and all of the lore that it tied in. I think that this one is a slam dunk, especially for anyone who loves anime, but even if you don't watch anime, you can still get a lot out of this. I personally don't watch anime, but I absolutely adored this. So those are some recommendations I have if you're looking for those books that lean on the older end of the age range. So what do you think of this list? Do you have any that you would add to this list? What are some of your favorite young adult fantasy books? Again, I think young adult fantasy is fantastic. I think it's doing great things. I can see myself continuing to read young adult fantasy forever. Can't wait to hear what you think. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.